What's his next 5 moves?
Stop doing podcasts. Stop doing anything that's a distraction. That anything that's outside of what your business does to make money, stop doing it unless it makes you a lot of money.
Welcome again to the Prime Mover Podcast, where we ignite the engine of your success in faith, family, finance, and fitness. Join us as we explore the power of being a prime mover in both your professional and personal life. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Prime Mover Podcast, where we ignite the engine of your success through faith, family, finance, and fitness. Today, I'm super excited, man. I got one of definitely a role model for me in the industry, in the home service business here. I'm excited to have this guest, Mr. Victor Rancour. Big round of applause.
Yeah. No round of applause, man. I'm just a regular guy like everybody else that's probably listening to this, and and we'll talk a little bit about my humble beginnings and what we're doing now, and all that, man. I'm just happy to be on. I'm happy to be part of your podcast and help you grow this thing.
Dude, absolutely, man. So we always start off with what is a prime mover? So a prime mover, man, I'm in the generator space, and generator's a prime mover. It's whatever kind of gets the ball rolling. I like to use the analogy. It's the bulldozer that shows up before the city gets built. It's the guy who starts everything. It's the thermostat, not the thermometer, the dude that just kind of gets the ball rolling. And so I only want to interview prime movers on here, man. So I hope you are honored to be one. I think you are. So I would love to give you to give the audience like a little tour of Victor, man. What do you do? Where you come from? What your business is about? Just however you like to flow, brother.
I mean, if I told you, and if you would have told me 10 years ago this would be my life, I would have never believed it. So, 10 years, about 11 years ago now, I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, making $6.75 an hour doing oil changes. And I'm from California originally. I got out there because just like, any other young 20-year-old kid get myself in some trouble. I got family out there. So I'm like, I'm going to get away for a little while. And then, I moved out there and I realized I was the trouble. So I didn't fix nothing. But, I ended up back in California, and from here out, I got back to California. I was working a bunch of odd jobs. I was bussing tables, serving tables at TGI Fridays, and working some random sales jobs and everything kind of in between. And I just happened, I started doing construction, and I was a day laborer pretty much, getting paid cash under the table, doing concrete masonry work. And I thought my future was going to be in like general contracting. And I enjoyed it. I liked it, and my mentor and that, like my boss, I guess, was really good at what he did. So I really took a lot of pride in what we were doing, and I thought like, okay, that's gonna really what I was gonna go to. And then one day I had a buddy of mine come over, and he's like, hey, he was actually working as a day laborer with me, his buddy from high school, and he worked for me like a couple months before this happened. But he went and answered a Craigslist ad, and I remember the day he was going, as he left work, he's like, I'm gonna go this interview. They're gonna pay me 60,000 a year, 60, 80 grand a year. They're gonna give me a work truck. They're gonna teach me HVAC, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'll see you next week when you need work. You know what I mean? He ended up getting the job, and I invited him to my Super Bowl party in February 2015. And it was the Seahawks and Patriots. I remember that because goddamn should have ran the damn ball. But anyway, let's talk about that later. I still want that money back on that one. But yeah, so he showed me his paycheck, man, just kind of like Wolf of Wall Street. I'm like, he's like, dude, I'm crushing at this business. He showed me his paycheck. I'm like, if I can make that much money, I'm going there, right? So went in there, applied, and I got an opportunity to work at one of the best companies in the country, which is Service Champions out in Southern California, ran by, a mentor of mine, Leland Smith. And I was blessed. I got the opportunity to work at one of the best, well-run organizations in the country. And I got to work at a real sales organization. So I got to really grind my teeth in the beginning. Like a lot of guys start out as like, helpers and stuff like that, and maybe technicians that are fixing things. But
Yeah.
They taught us sales from day one, and it got me excited. They showed me the pay plan. I'm like, I'm about to be rich. And I once I saw the pay plan, I'm like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing from now on out. And I started figuring out sales and understanding. Obviously, at first I had to become a technician. And a lot of people think you're not a good technician. No, I became NATE certified, got all my certifications. I studied the technical side, because I believe once I had the technical side down, that was one less thing for me to worry about. Like when I get into a house, I could fix anything. Now I just got to learn how to communicate and sell and overcome a couple of objections, right? So, as I went along, I ended up becoming the #1 selling tech in the country. And then I got an opportunity. Leland gave me an opportunity to become a salesman. And so I worked that and started becoming a sales guy. I got recruited in 2017 to actually go work at another local organization. And, they had heard about me, they heard about my sales, and, obviously they're real excited about bringing me on. And they wined and dined me. They took me and the family out to Hawaii, put me on the North Shore of Kauai, gave me his Range Rover to drive, cut me a fat check sign-on bonus. And I'm like, okay, I guess I work for you now. And I didn't realize that, like, that service champions are real departmentalized. Like, if you're a technician, you're not in meetings with sales guys. If you're a sales guy, you're not meeting with call center. Like, they departmentalize it, installers separated everybody, because they didn't want you to start knowing everything. Because the more you know, the more opportunity you have to leave, right? But when I went to this new company, I was wearing every hat. I was a service manager, salesman, fix-it guy, customer concern guy, helping with dispatch, helping, all this. And I got to, like, really see the inside and underbelly of a business. And once I started seeing it, I knew I could do it myself. So, I stayed there for about 9.5 months, almost 10 months. And then August 2018, I went to my buddy's pizza shop. We had some beers. And next thing I know, he's like, why don't you start your own business? And I'm like, a couple IPAs deep. I'm like, why don't I start my own business? Right? Like, okay, let's do it. And I went home that night. I still remember, like, I'm laying on the floor, like kind of a psycho, and I'm writing down names. I'm trying to come up with names for the business. That's like, I got to come up with a name. I got to come up with a name, because I didn't want it to be like Victor's Heating and Air or something like that. Because I knew I wanted it at some point. I wanted to be able to, like, sell it if I wanted, or I didn't want to have to be the one that was associated with it. And I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, right? I didn't know anything. I just knew that, like, the companies I worked at weren't called Leland's Heating and Air. It was Service Champion. So I had to come up with a name that would resonate, that I could market. Came up with a name. 5 days later, I quit my job, making a ton of money selling air conditioning, and I guess the rest is history, man. I grew that business from zero. We worked out of my buddy's pizza shop parking lot. We grew from nothing to, we did over $65 million in 4.5 years. And then I sold it last year. And then kind of along the way, I started using my skill set. So, like, as you know, it costs a lot of money to grow a business. So in 2020, I needed cash, and the fastest way for me to make cash was to start doing sales training. So I started doing sales training, and I would charge like $1,500 per head to come to my training, and I'd do, I'd get $60,000-$80,000 for 2 days, and I'd take that money and I'd put it into my business. And that's how we started scaling faster. I started injecting capital into the business to be able to scale it. So I had to starve myself. I had to sacrifice, the short-term excitement for a long-term gain. And so we grew that business. And then along the way, I made a lot of connections throughout the country. I started becoming like a social media, like, influencer for the space, and putting myself out there. And I still remember when I first started making videos and my friends making fun of me and giving me, I'd be like, even when I first started my business, hey, this is Victor with Absolute Airflow. I'm in an attic today. Let me show you what ductwork's supposed to look like, like that. And then I started doing sales training videos. I got made fun of more. And I always had people giving me, because I would put myself out there, and, like, they're too scared to do it. So they want to throw stones, right?
Yep.
But I didn't realize that because I documented my entire journey, just people started following along, and more people wanted to be part of whatever it was I was doing. And then we started throwing big events. So, like, we throw a big annual event now. Like this year, we got about 2,000 people coming to Dallas in May. So yeah, that's where I'm at, man. At this point, I own a software company called RP1. We own a call center. I own a bookkeeping company for the trade. So, like, when people don't know how to handle their books, we take over for them. We teach them financials. We teach them financial literacy. We actually teach them benchmark KPIs on how to run the business. We give them pointers on what they're failing at. I got the bookkeeping division. I got a business coaching side, and sales training. So I kind of feel like a lot of needs within the trades. And one of the things with me, man, is, like, if you come to me, I want to make sure that we are the best at what we do. And that's what I've been priding myself on. And now I think my main focus right now I think my main focus is my call center, my software company, man. So that's what's waking me up every day. I'm up at 6 a.m. excited to go to work, running through the calls. I mean, I'm on my phone till freaking 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night with my partner. We're building out some special. So we have the software end, and then we're also building out a rehash department. Because I found national statistics says that 75% of deals that are quoted go unsold. So my job is to pick up part of that 75% through my well-trained staff that I have in my house, in my office, that I train them day in and day out, objection handling, how to overcome with, how to sell the jobs over the phone. So we're able to go pick up money for contractor. Contractor hires us. We sell an extra $1 million for him that month. We take our cut, and everybody's happy.
Right. Dude, that's a loaded potato, man. That's a lot.
That's a lot, man. I know. And I talk fast, but
No, hey, look, I took a lot of notes, and I like to take notes, and it's so I can go back and kind of rehash some things. I think one of my takeaways from the early part of the conversation is my advice to young entrepreneurs is, I don't care what it is, if you're starting a snow cone stand or a lemonade truck, when you pick a name, you have to know where you're headed when you start. Like you got to have a destination. And so if all you ever want to do is just be a hustler or a grinder, then go ahead and start with Joe's AC or whatever. Or you can name something that's bigger than yourself, that has a lot of meaning, impact, and purpose. And so I love the fact that it was Absolute Airflow, right? Was the name of that company.
Correct. And keep in mind, man, like I knew day one I wanted to build the biggest company in Southern California. I didn't want to build, I wasn't building a job for myself. I wasn't doing a hobby. I wanted to build an enterprise company that had enterprise value.
That's right.
Because a lot of people think that their business, oh, my business is worth this much money. And when I go in there and I'm like, they show me the financials, yeah, they're making money, right? Cool, you're making money. I said, okay, what happens if you get in a car accident today and die? What happens to your business? Well, it dies. Well, then you don't have a business.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like that's one of the things that I talk to guys all the time about. It's like they have this false sense of reality. Like, well, we're making 500,000 a year, but it's you and three dudes. Like that doesn't matter. That's not
Right.
a business, right? That's not something that's sellable. And everybody thinks that they're going to get a 10x multiple on that. But I'm like, no, if you leave, the business is dead. There's no business there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's something, man, we got to shoot another episode just to talk about that because I don't want to, unpack something about that. Building enterprise value to command a multiple is a art, a skill, it's a discipline, and it can be done in any business. So I want to talk more about that, but I know we're on a short time schedule. So a couple things I took. So you started out in the coaching space. Your transition was while you were an HVAC operator needing cash, you jumped into sales training, and then you were using that cash to keep the business going, like giving it rocket fuel per se.
Yeah, man. And obviously not everybody has a particular set of skill set that I have that's able to do that. And I mean, a lot of people are like, I want to be a trainer. I'm like, well, no one's gonna pay you. Like you gotta do something first. Like I'd already had built my business. I'd already had the records and accolades. Like I got trophies. I got all the like I can show you that I was one of the number one sales guys in the country. Then I
Right.
went through this big ass business. Then I create this big following. So it's like a lot of people like, I want to be in a coach. And I'm like, good luck, dude. People aren't gonna cough up money to come listen to some guy they don't know.
Yeah.
But because I built a track record and people had that mystique behind me and people wanted to know what the fuck I was doing, like they were willing to pay for it. And
Yeah.
for me, I'd be dumb not to take it. So, we took the money, we invested that and sometimes I'm like, man, I probably should have like if I look back, I probably should have grown a little bit slower. But I have, and I believe like, moving with speed, right? Speed is something that you can't really overlook, right? Like speed, like I don't know. I have a buddy, my buddy Judge Graham wrote a book. It's called where is it at up here? It's a great book. You guys check it out. It's called Scale with Speed, right? And he's a mentor of mine and he's growing some big, massive companies. And I went to his training. It was the first business coaching event I ever went to, was his. And I really took away from that. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, I can build a business slow and take time, but like speed is king, right? Like how fast can you do it? And then that became my brand. Like that's how I got the nickname Rocket Man. And that's how I built my whole brand around rockets, right? Everyone's like, well, why rockets? I was like, because everything I touch grows faster than anybody else can grow it,
Yeah.
and that's I built a brand around it. And that's kind of what all of it is now. Like, when my clients come in, like, how do I help you grow faster? That's my goal.
Dude, that is amazing. So much I could say to that. I'm thinking along the lines of, if somebody's out there and I want to unpack what you said about sales guy, number one sales guy accolades and things like that. I want to unpack that a little bit. So I believe you have authority in your space. Um, I believe when someone obtains authority, it's because they have the experience and they have the receipts. So when you have it's a little ERA thing I kind of made up after baseball, but when you have the experience and the receipts, you obtain authority. And so you obtain the authority in your space, and I don't think anybody can deny that. I'm watching a lot of people try to do it in their space. Heck, I'm trying to do it in my space. So I'll talk to the young guy who's out there that wants to obtain authority and wants to get it too fast. Like, talk to him
No,
about figuring that out.
focus. The word you got to work it on is focus, right? Like I would say one of the biggest things I did, like mistakes I made, was allowing distractions in. Like focus on your one thing, right?
Yeah.
And once you crush that, like, so everyone's like, they want to do all this stuff before they actually crush their main thing. If you dominate your main thing, everything else will come. But if you want to be the best in generators and you haven't built a big generator business, I ain't listening to you.
Right. Right.
And if you don't have the track record, because track record is going to tell you what's the future outcome of what's going to happen, right? And I talk to a lot of guys all the time. They're like, I want to be like you. I want to run sales training class. I want to do them like you don't have the track record, bro. You don't have it. You were never the number one sales guy in the country. You're never grown a big business. You've never done anything in particular that stands out. And so I think that if you focus on what you're supposed to be good at before you start coaching on it,
Yeah.
then you'll be successful. But now if you try to go coach on it you haven't even successfully done yourself, just when you don't you'll never get credibility. People will just gonna think you're a grifter, right? Like, some of these influencers are out there that are just grifters, like a Brandon Stowe or something. And you got to make sure that you actually are successful. And if you ain't successful, then don't try to teach other people, because then you're just taking people's money for some shit you don't even know about anyways.
No, dude, 100%. I had somebody pitch me in my DMs a couple of days ago to train me, and I was in better shape than them. I'm like, man, you don't think I went and look at your page? Like, how would I give you the authority to train me? I mean, I felt like I was in better shape. Not knocking against the guy, but there's a lot of people out there talking. Um, and I think what they say, those who can't do, teach. So you got to do it first, man. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think that's the golden nugget, man. Like, for me, like, I'm still doing it, right? Like, I'm still doing all this stuff, and I actually we haven't really announced it yet, but I got big acquisition just got done. So I just cashed out some more chips on one of my locations. But like, dude, I got businesses in 14 different states, and every single one of them has quadrupled, or some of them 10x overnight. Like, I got my Vegas branch went from 1.9 million to 14 in 12 months. And we're gonna
That's
do
Summit.
we're gonna do over 20 million this year. Same thing in
That's a company. I
Summit. Yeah.
want to talk about that Summit. That's a company you started, partnered with, and built.
No, so my partner there, Sean, he started it 10 years, 11 years ago now. And he was pretty much humping swamp coolers and mate and commercial jobs and all this shit. And he actually came to my event in 2021, I think, or end of 2022 in October, and met him there for the first time. And he was doing 1.9 million after 10 years, barely making any money. I said, hey, I want to be in Vegas. I'm either going to partner with you or somebody else. I'm partnering with somebody in Vegas. I want to be in that
Yeah.
market. So we partnered with him. We bought, me and my partner Bill bought 50% of that business, and we said, okay, we're gonna put some rocket fuel on this, and we had to completely change this whole business. We stopped doing swamp coolers, we stopped doing commercial work. We went 100% residential. I went and hired the best sales guys that I can get, and then put some processes in place, got the installers, and then just put money on marketing, right? So, like, business is simple, right? It's sales and marketing, right? Acquire the customers, book the damn call, run the call, sell the job, install it, and you keep it as simple as possible, right? And so many people overthink business, but all it is like, dude, if you gotta watch your marketing spend, you gotta watch your cost per lead, you gotta watch your closing percentage, and then obviously your bottom line, and make sure you're keeping your operations tight.
Yeah.
But yeah, we grew that business, and we got some announcement coming up with that as well, and so, like I said, like, the people that I partnered with, and we got another one. I partnered with the kids up in Pennsylvania. They were doing like 16 million a year the year before, making no money, and now they're going to probably do 40 million this year with probably $6 to $7 million of the bottom line. And another one in Sacramento, he was working out of his house doing 2 million a year, and now he's going to do 20 million plus this year. And these are just a short period of time, right? And so, like, when you have a track record and you have a playbook, you got to find the guy that can run the playbook. And I say, look, I can't help everybody.
Yep.
Because if I'm Belichick and I'm playing with, I don't know who his quarterback is right now, but Brian Hoyer or something, right?
I don't know.
I mean, I can only be so good. I got to have someone who can run the plays. So, like, I'm looking for the Tom Brady's, I'm looking for the Mahomes, and I know the plays. I just need to run the plays, and he can win. So that's kind of what we do. We look for young, hungry entrepreneurs that can run the playbook, and if you do that, then we can help you become, very, very wealthy and change your life.
Dude, I stay looking for 5 tool players. Like,
Yeah.
when I started training my techs and told them, look, everybody's gonna be a sales tech. I can't lie and say it wasn't a little pushback in the early stages, but once they realized that we had their best interest in mind, I know it's gonna bear fruit. So
Yeah, you got to look at me. Sales is like if you can't sell, man, you just you're not you can't succeed in life. You can't keep up with inflation unless you know how to sell. Like what's going to happen when inflation goes up 30%, your wages go up 2%.
Yeah,
That's what's happened over the last couple of years with some of these people, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And it's like the only way to keep up with that is with sales, because sales you get a percentage of the new price.
sure.
Price goes up, my commissions go up. So we go up with inflation, where a lot of people they stay stagnant. And that's why we're seeing right now the pinch with the economy is all the people that are stagnant, making hourly, making salary. That's the salary's not increasing because profits aren't going up in the business. Their salary's staying the same. Their cost of living is going way the fuck up.
Yeah.
But then people want to hate on sales guys that don't want to learn how to communicate. It's like, come on, bro. Like, what do you want to do? Your whole life, you're going to be sitting there starving yourself.
Right, right. Nah, it's cool stuff, man. I agree. It's definitely I read a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. Uh that well, should we in 24 now, in 23. And then read a book on the heels of that. It was read by Patrick Bet David called your Next Five Moves and Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And
I got to read that one. I haven't read that one yet.
but Choose Your Enemies Wisely,
Yeah.
bro, elite. Especially on the heels of like I read them in a sequence and just reframe my thought process as a CEO, having a 9-figure mindset and really what that looks like in the business in a 8-figure business. What does a 9-figure mindset look like? So uh, those books changed my and so I wanted to know, besides the book you already recommended, if there was any books that you read that you would recommend for young entrepreneurs.
Let me see if I got anything up here. This one, I mean, this is a book that I got recommended to me by Wyatt Hempworth. He owns Any Hour Services. I do $500 million a year in HVAC, plumbing, electrical. It's called Good to Great. If you never read Good to Great, it's and you're running a business, you should stop and get the audiobook or read the book and really read it a couple times. It takes a couple times to realize what you got to do. And I think those are good ways to build good businesses. And I think obviously Wyatt is someone I look up to as a mentor and someone I, obviously admire, especially what he's built, man. He went from nothing, tiny little electrical company to, over $500 million a year in revenue out of Any Hour Services. And they're hitting like a 18% EBITDA.
Wow.
So you can understand how much money that they're making on that thing. And he run a great organization. The people love it. People never leave. Like his employees never leave the damn company. And he's built his entire business around that, man. He retains talent better than anybody I've ever met. Other people are always chasing new people. His hiring process is long. It takes a while to get hired there. And when you do get hired there, they retain you. And, I think that's something to really admire. And he's actually someone, if you guys are in the trades, and it doesn't matter what trade you're in, if you guys want to go to his office out in Utah, hit him up. They'll let you do a shop tour, and it's like a full day shop tour because there's 500 employees or something like that, and all these offices and all these departments, and they've really mastered the art of actually doing a tour, and they've used that as a recruiting as far as acquisitions and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But if you haven't had an opportunity to go check it out, it's really awesome. And he's built it in a smaller market. It's not like he's in some massive market that's got a never ending expansion opportunities like maybe a Phoenix or Texas or stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a possibility, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. Hey,
Nick got a question for you.
Hey, Victor, this is Nick, man. Real quick, you brought up the Good to Great book. I'm actually reading that book right now. I want you to talk to, I've been kind of championing the intrapreneur, not so much the entrepreneur, the people who want to just understand that surrounding yourself with the right managers and the right talent. Can you speak to that in your own experience about having the right people, the people that are for the business and not for themselves, and then how valuable that person could be within the organization in a long-term situation?
Well, it comes down from the leadership, right? You have to sell your employees on the vision, right? And then you got to find a way to involve them in the vision. And for me, it was always big, like, from day one, like they're like, how did you grow your business? How do you get pounds so fast? I said, look, we ain't much now, but I need each and every one of you, and we're going to build something special, and every one of you are going to have more opportunity than you've ever had. And as we move up, I want you guys to understand that I want you to be with me. I'm not trying to grow off your backs. I want you to grow with me. And as we grow this business, you're going to be an integral part of it, right? As long as we can all buy in on this, we're all going to go make a bunch of money. So, I had to find, for me, I had to learn how to delegate, right? And because I'm not very organized, I got ADD like crazy. I'm a dreamer, I'm a driver, I'm a wild man, I'm a gambler, right? Like if I see something, I'll gamble on it, right? And sometimes it's not the right choices. So you start putting people in place that have your checks and balances and understand where your goals are. But as long as they all understand where the vision is, and I really sell vision from everybody that comes to work for me, from the interview process all the way to every all company meeting or however we conversate. And I get people excited, and I think that's the key. And then finding the right people. And then obviously you got to incentivize people, man. Like, and people see it, right? With this private equity deals that went on, is it's the owner, they got a deal, right? And they rolled equity, and then they gave them the phantom equity. They make them work their ass off for 18 months and try to hit an earnout that's impossible. And now these guys are stuck holding paper, and they helped you build your business. You didn't give. So if you don't have, you got to make sure you got to incentivize your people and show them a clear path to how you're going to make them rich. Because I believe that if you help people get what they want, then eventually you're going to get what you want, right? And sometimes it takes a little sacrifice. I think one thing that I did, start my business with, like, people, how do you get talent? I was like, well, you got to build a business that people want to work for. Like, you couldn't get me, Victor, to come work for your business if you didn't have calls, right? Need calls. You need to make sure that you have, nice truck wraps. You need uniforms. You got to have benefits. You got to have health benefits for my family. I got to have some paid vacation. These are things that I had to have to get talented. So like when I started my business, I'm like 7 months into business, and I'm providing all that. And I don't know if you guys know how expensive that stuff is, but that's how I got A players. A players ain't going to come play they're not going to play in the Oakland Coliseum, bro. They're not going to go play for the A's. They want to go play for the Yankees.
Right.
And how do you make yourself look bigger than you are, and make them feel comfortable? And how does your office look? Is your office dirty and dingy? What is it? What do you feel like when you walk in? Like I'm actually, I just got a new building for my software company, call center company. And my partner's like trying to go cheap on it. I'm like, dude, this is where people have to come every day. I got to attract talent. I got to bring customers in here. I got to bring people in. And I was like, I would rather spend the money, because he's like, well, it's the same amount of space. And I was like, yeah, but how did you feel in this one versus that one?
Yeah.
He's like, this one feels like a big business. I was like, yeah. How do you think the talent that walks in the door, or the clients that walk in the door, they walk into some dingy little freaking office? It's the same size, might put some nice stuff on the wall, but it doesn't feel like a company I want to give my money to. It doesn't feel like a company that's going to be around a long time and that's going to provide for my family. So that's one of the things that, I always really, and I challenge a lot of owners, is to really put yourselves in the shoes of your employees and people that you want to employ, and say, would I want to work here? Is this a place that I want to be? And if the answer is no, your only job as the owner is to make it a place that they want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's elite.
So,
You got to provide an atmosphere for success, for people to grow.
yeah, you got, and like I said, there's a reason why I had to get so many side hustles, and it looks like I'm always doing things, is because, like, I understand how to get, I understand how to get attention. I understand how to get cash, and I understand, like, I would rather have the cash that I can get rather than get debt. And, for me, like, I try to operate with no debt, and that's how we are now. Before, like, when I first started my business at Absolute, I took on a lot of debt, and I understand that, if you guys don't understand what debt really means, it actually means death. Debt equals death. And if you don't realize that, and it usually takes you a little while to learn it, and then all of a sudden those bills don't stop. They compound, and then it starts draining your business. And I actually have a new slogan, and you guys will start seeing my T-shirt everywhere, or my shirt. I'll have it by tomorrow, and I'll have a bunch of shirts. It's the hashtag Act Broke. And we're going to really talk about how in the new economy, we got to stop acting like it's 2021 and start acting broke, acting as if every dollar matters, and look at our marketing, look at all our things that we're doing. What are we spending on? Really controlling ourselves. And I think that's going to be my big push this year, is the Act Broke movement. Like, you got to be smarter than that. You got to act like you're broke. And then eventually one day you'll get where you need to be, but you keep acting rich. And when you're not rich, you're going to be broke.
No, 100%, man. That was my early on in my entrepreneur career for sure. I had more money than sense in my early days. Just I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I started making money. And then, man, you think you can buy influence, and before you know it, you freaking, like you said, debt equals death, dude. 100%.
Yeah, and it creeps up on everybody, right? But it's because, social media has made it like you see all these people with all this, but you don't see what they got going on in the back end, right? You don't see the debt, or you don't see the person sponsoring them, or whatever it is. And you think that because you have it. I had a coaching call on I do a $97 a month coaching call. We meet every Wednesday, and I beat the shit out of this dude on Wednesday because he's got 3 employees, but he's paying a $60,000 a year accountant on staff. And I'm like, are you high. I was
Yeah.
like, you can't afford that, bro. He's like, well, it's going to help me. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, what kind of background they have? Well, he's never been an accountant before. I'm like, you've never been an accountant before and you're paying him 60,000 a year and your business is 3 or 4 employees. Like, what the?
Yeah.
But he thinks like other people have it. So he thinks he needs it rather than looking at the numbers and the KPIs and actually understanding the business. And then he asked me if I want to partner with him. I'm like, no, you're dumb. I told you not to do this. And you did it. And that I can't help people that can't help themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great stuff, dude. So, man, I got a question for you, as we kind of start to wrap. So I want to go from hustler to CEO, like change the way I think, change the way I move in my business. I'm a dude who just ain't got it figured out, grind there, maybe 3 or 4 employees or whatever, and wants to think like a CEO, act like a CEO, and become a CEO. What's his next 5 moves?
Stop doing podcasts. Stop doing anything that's a distraction. That anything that's outside of what your business does to make money, stop doing it unless it makes you a lot of money. And
Yeah,
I make a lot of money. The biggest thing that's going to happen, you'll get this podcast, you'll get this, is all a distraction. You could have spent the last hour working on SOPs for your business, working on how to get more customers. You could have been in a community group trying to sell generators. So, that's one of the first things I would do is stop the distractions, because I've been there, I've been distracted, and it cost me probably 10, 20, 30, $40 million being distracted. So stop the distractions. Number 2, right, is dress the part too. People won't respect you as much. And that's one thing, like when I go to my office now, I'm in like really nice clothes, and I'm going to make sure that I look the part and I'm presentable. Number 3 is your employees aren't your friends. You can go like every once in a while, have an employee night out, go to like Top Golf and stuff. You don't hang out with your employees. You have to understand how to be a strong hand, and also make sure that you're actually control. You have to stay in control. You have to feel like you're their boss. I ran into this, one of my partners. He was letting the prisoners run the prison, and it got to the point where I had to step somebody else in there to fire some people and clean shit up and clean him up or get him out. So stuff like that is definitely important. I guess number 4 is start understanding financials. If you don't take, you have the blueprint stuff, and go through the financials, really understand numbers, really understand how to chart of accounts, a balance sheet, and how everything correlates together. And the last thing I would say is do a 13-week cash flow and live off your 13-week cash flow analysis. One of the things that causes the most stress in people and contractors is not really understanding their money and where it goes. If you do a 13-week cash flow analysis, it's going to tell you where your money is. And because a lot of people, like, they see money in the bank, they spend it. With a 13-week cash flow, it's going to tell me, hey, 4 weeks from now, I have a big bill that's $335,000 coming up. I can't spend this right now. I have to really budget and make it through this. It's called sweeping the cash. So a lot of guys, in businesses, they want to keep, so a lot of contractors are like, I want to keep $1 million in a safety net in my business. And it's the dumbest thing you can do, because first off, that's your money. Second, because you need money in your pocket, like to motivate you. Like I had a partner of mine, and he was paying out dividends, and I didn't realize he paid me dividends and didn't pay himself. I'm like, why not? He's like, well, I wanted to keep a certain amount in the business. I said, take that money out now and pay yourself, because it's going to motivate you, right? But it's called sweeping the cash, right? So like, I learned this from my partner, Bill Pulte. And rule number 1 is listen to Pulte, because, I listen to people that are richer than me. It's called sweeping the cash, right? So, it's most companies, right? They want to keep money in the bank. Well, it's like when you go to a buffet, right? When you go to a buffet, how much are you going to eat?
are you full?
A lot. But now if you go to a place where it's a tiny little meal, how much are you going to eat?
Yeah,
You have to act like you're broke, right? And when you have less money in the bank, it's going to make you hustle harder.
right.
If you got $1 million in the bank, you go make a podcast and you go hang out for an hour, wasting time with someone you could have been making money. So I make money off podcasts, so that's different. Now, if the podcasts don't make you money, then you shouldn't be doing it. And the people that are running these podcasts are mostly, if you look who runs most of the podcasts, right? People like me that are trying to buy businesses, events, all that have already done it, or it's marketing companies. Because marketing companies, how they get customers, podcasts. So really look at who's doing it and really understand the thought process behind it. And stop getting distracted, because that's right. That's what I would call this podcast, would be your distraction that you shouldn't be doing until you've done what you need to do.
Right, right. I feel that. So
You know what I mean? I don't mean to be a dick, but I'm just
no, I get it.
asking for advice.
No, hey, and look, we got people that listen that's in the same boat. And so it's the advice is for anybody. Like for us, we had a specific reason why we started the podcast, and honestly, we've had different types of guests. It was mostly just not everybody in the same business, but home service business. I think you have the authority and you definitely have the know-how. And man, I learned a lot. And so I know that education is big for you. So you want to talk about your event at Rocket X?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, big thing that's always been successful for me in business is getting into events. Events have been a big part of my growth. Not only just the people that I've met, the people that the listening to stuff on stage. When I go to an event, I have a notepad and paper. I'm not there to fuck around. Especially when I was a business owner, I went there to learn what they said on stage. I wrote down, I took notes, and I would highlight things that I would want to actually take action on like immediately.
Yep.
And then I also wanted to meet people there. And one thing that fast tracked my entire life was 2019. I went to EGIA, I think it was Epic event or something like that, or a Service World in Vegas. And I had Ken Goodrich there, and Landon and Louis Bruno and Ishmael and Tommy, and all these guys are all there. And I never met any of these people, right? And I was still, I was only about a year into business. And my ego was real big, and I had to and that's actually where I met Dan Antonelli, and he told me my logo sucked, and we ended up rebranding myself. So I met all these people that ended up, impacting my life, and you don't realize who you're going to meet there. And a lot of these people have done what you want to do, and they went through a lot of mistakes, and they want to help you. And with my events, I do them differently. I put people that are doing it today in today's market, that are crushing it, that are doing what you want to do. I put them on stage. I have some of the best owners, operators, salesmen, motivators, trainers, leadership, all that stuff, people that are going to be there. They're going to teach you the ins and outs, marketing, sales, like everything you're going to need. Like, it doesn't matter if you're the owner, the sales guy, an employee that come out, you're going to learn something. And I made it specifically this year, like, because obviously I'm an HVAC guy by trade, but summertime's our busiest time of year. So I wanted to make it right before summer so they can come get some actionable. It's where they can implement it before summer. That's where it's going to have the biggest impact on their business. But it doesn't matter what trade you're in: HVAC, plumbing, electrical, generators, roofing. We got roofers that are going to be there. We got everything that's going to be there, A to Z. It's May 1st through 3rd in Dallas. I also got some badass after party. So if you're like me and you like to rub shoulders with people and have fun, we got Rick Ross performing at the after party. So if you get a social pass or above, you get access to that. And then we also got some Cowboys players coming in just so you guys get to meet some cool players. I think we have Dak and Zeke will be there. But yeah, it's going to be a badass event. If you've never been to one of my events, we throw the best home service event of the year. I'm very bougie, so I like shit, and I like it to be nice. I mean, last year I spent $1 million just on food and beverage, feeding everybody. So it's just I operate differently, but I also I do these events for one reason. It's for people that want to grow, to get around successful people, because when you get around successful people, they leave clues. And when success leaves clues, all you got to do is R&D, baby, rob and duplicate, and you're going to win.
Yeah, that's killer. Well, man, your social medias are just Victor Rancour. Like, how can people follow you?
Yeah, just Victor_Rancour on TikTok and Instagram, and then Facebook is just Victor Rancour. Same thing on LinkedIn, YouTube. We got a lot of YouTube videos up. We're starting to get a bunch more. I got a full-time videographer, editor, all that stuff now. So we're gonna be pumping out a lot. We also have my reality shows coming out. Hopefully we're gonna air it in August. We have it's called Home Service SOS, where I go into broken home service companies and help fix them by implementing my processes, procedures, obviously new technologies and stuff like that. And if you do own a home service business, you got to check out what we're doing at RP1. Go to www.rp1.ai. We have a badass software that's going to help you generate more leads, stay in contact with your customers, activate your database. And then also we have our rehash department as well. So if your guys aren't selling, your closing percentage is low, give me those leads. I'll close them for you, and I'll make you a ton of money.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to be part of the RP1 team, and I think we get onboarded this week. So appreciate everything you guys do at Rocket X. Victor Rancour, it's been awesome, dude. You are definitely the definition of a prime mover. And so I appreciate having you on the podcast. And man, I look forward to trying to make your event for sure. I'm going to look at my calendar now. I wrote it all down. So I appreciate
Get on out there. I got the tickets are 50% off now until March 7th. And then after that, I only had about 200 and something left. So as soon as they're gone, they're gone. But I'd love to see you back out there, man. It's going to be a great time. Keep your head on, man. Don't feel like I'm trying to beat you up, but as someone that someone wants to see you succeed, like, there's two ways to go about it. You can sugarcoat and tell you everything's rainbows and cupcakes, or I can tell you what you don't want to hear. And sometimes what you don't want to hear is what's going to help you grow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I took no offense. Only education. You said success leaves clues, so I wrote it down. That's how we'll close the show, man. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, brother. Later.
Have a good one.